Right, today we're going to review the Level 3 Numeracy homework, the 10 questions that were issued. I think we should just get into it and go reasonably quickly. You can freeze the video and replay it if you need to see some of the questions again. Okay then, let's go for question number 1. So we're going to round this number here to 1 decimal place. Okay, so remember when it asks to round to 1 decimal place, we want to have a number that's got 1 place after the decimal point. So first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut this number just right in there. So that's 1 place after the decimal point. I'm then going to look to the right, and if I see that number's a 7, well, that's going to tell me what to do to the 3 that's there. Now remember the rules for rounding. If we have the number on the right here is less than 5, then we're going to leave the 3 as it is. If the number to the right is 5 or greater, we're going to move that 3 up to a 4. So that's the way we're going to round it. So this answer here is going to be 45.4 with the 7 rounding the 3 up. Okay, next question. We're going to round this number here to 2 decimal places. Well, 2 places after the decimal would be 1, 2, so that's going to be cut here. When I look at this number, I'm looking to the right of the 8. It's a 4, so that's less than 5, so that's going to leave the 8 as it is. So this number here will become 2.78, and that's to 2 decimal places. Okay, moving on to some integers, some negative number work. We're going to try and insert this sign or this sign in between the numbers to make the statement true. Remember what the signs mean. This sign here means the left hand side is greater than the right hand side. So usually we see that as is greater than. Oops. It's greater than. This sign here is less than. Okay, so all I need to do is to find out my smallest number there in the number line. And if I look at that, minus 8 is lower than minus 3. So I'm going to put in this sign here. So it's less than. So negative 8 is less than negative 3 on the number line. Okay, on to question 4. Question 4, we've got 3 and we're going to subtract 8. Okay, let me just draw a quick number line here. So I'll just draw this down from there to there. Okay, just put some marks in here, just very quickly, and I'll number this up. So I'm going to go for 0 here, 1, 2, 3, down the way. Remember, below 0, the numbers are negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and so on. Okay, so for this question here, I'm going to start on positive 3, so that's the place where I'm going to start. So there's my 0, so positive 3 is starting there, and I'm going to take away 8. So taking away 8, I'm going to go down the number line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's going to take me all the way down here to negative 5. So answer there, negative 5. Now on to a multiplication sum. What we've got here is 42 times 30. Okay, when I multiply by something like 30, I'm going to multiply by the 3 and then I'm going to multiply by 10. So what this becomes is multiply it by 3 first. When I get the answer, I'm going to multiply it by 10. So just a simple way to lay that out. I would multiply that by 3, get an answer there, multiply it by 10, and then get my final answer. Here we go. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. So I've got 126. I'm going to multiply that now by 10. So it's going to be 1260. Okay, if it's a whole number, I'm just going to add a 0 on. Or if it was a decimal, I'd be moving my decimal point to the right. Or that's the way I think about it. Next question, we've got a division, so we're going to divide by 20. Similar to what I did here, what I'm going to do with this question, I'm going to first divide by 10, and then what I'll do is I'll divide it by 2. Okay, I could divide by 2 first and then by 10, but I'm going to divide it by 10 first. Dividing by 10, I'm going to just knock one of my zeros off, or I'd be moving my decimal point 1 place, so that gives me 680 divided by 2. Now I can just go ahead and work that out, or what I could do is I could do a division sum here. So 2 into 6 gives me 3, 2 into 8 gives me 4, and 2 into 0 is 0. So my answer there is 340. Okay. On to question 7. Right, for question 7, what we have is a multiplication. So I've got 37 times 42. I'm going to try and do that in a couple of ways for you. And I know I'm going reasonably quickly, but I just want to make sure that it's a shorter video for you. And you can go back and listen to it again if you need. First way I'm going to do it is a kind of traditional method. So I'm going to do 37 times 42. I'm going to leave 2 gaps there, and then I'm going to leave a place for my answer. I'm going to add the 2 lines of work that I get here together to get my final answer. Right, 2 times 7 gives me 14, so there's a 4 there and the 1 up at the top. 2 times 3 is 6, with the 1 gives me 7, so that will be 74. I'll then go on to my next line. Now I'm multiplying by the number that's here. Remember, that's 40 as part of 42. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first put a 0 in here, and that's really because I'm multiplying by 10 first, and then I'm going to multiply this by 4. So 4 times 7 gives me 28. I'll carry my 2 up to here. 4 times 3 is 12, with 2 is 14. Then finally, all I'm going to do is add them together. So that gives me 4. That'll give me 15 when I add these 2. That'll give me 5 when I use that carrying 1. And that gives me a 1. So 1554 is my answer there. So remember, there's more than one way to do this. What we'll look at is we'll look at another method. So what I would draw out is just a box here, right? And the box is 2 along by 2 down. And there's my 3 and my 7. So there's my 37, and there's my 4 and my 2, and there's 42. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some diagonal lines on this box here. Just along like that there. If you use a ruler, it would be a lot neater. But for speed, I'm just going to do it this way. Now for each box, I'm just going to multiply the 7 by the 4 to get my answer in there. So that will be 28. I'm then going to multiply 7 by 2 to get an answer in here. That would be 14, so there's 14. In this box, I'll do 3 times 4, which gives me 12. And finally, in this last box that's here, I'm doing 3 times 2, which gives me 6. So I'm going to write a 0 and a 6, like that there. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the green numbers in that direction there. Okay, so they're all going to be added in that direction. So first thing there, I've got a 4. Then I've got 8, 1 and 6. That'll give me 15. So I'm going to write a 5 here, but I'm going to carry 1 into this diagonal column here. 1 plus 2 gives me 5. And then finally, I've got this last one to add, and that will give me 1. So same answers there. So 1554. Same answer. Right, there's still another way that we can do this. If I just do the same type of thing again, I'll create a box. This time I'm not going to draw any diagonal lines at all. But for 37, I'm going to write 30 and 7. And for 42, I'll write 40 and 2 there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is similar to what I was doing over here, but I'm going to multiply these 2 numbers together. So 7 times 4 would give me 28. I've got 1 0 to add in there, so I'll put 1 0, so that's 280. In this box, it's 7 times 2, which will give me 14. In this box here, it will be 3 times 4 will be 12. And I've got 1 0 there and 1 0 there to add, so that's 2 zeros to add in. So that's 1,200. I've got 30 times 2, or 3 times 2, which will just give me 6. And I've got 1 0 to carry in, and there's 60. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down these numbers. I'm going to line them up correctly. So I've got 280 here, I've got 60, and I've got 14. All I'm going to do is add these all together. So starting from this column here, that gives me 4, That gives me 14 with 1 is 15, so there's 15 with 1 carrying into the next column. 2 and 2 is 4 with 1 is 5, and I've got 1 left here. So either way that you do it, the exact same answer. Okay, so you can work it out from there. We have looked at another method in class, looking at a line method. I wouldn't consider that for this type of work. Okay, so on to the last set. And what we have is we have a division by 13. Right, so if you don't know the 13 times table or whatever number that you're trying to divide by, well, why don't you just write it down? So I've got 13. I'm going to add 13 onto that, will give me 26. Add 13 onto that gives me 39. 13 onto that gives me 52. 13 onto that, 65. 78. 91. 104. 117 and 130, and that would be 10 times 13. So that's 10 of them there, and that's all that I would really need. Okay, so for any times table that you really don't know, you can always just write it down and then use that for your division. Right, let's set out our division. Remember, always it's that number there that's going to go outside your division sign or your division step. Then I've got 5, I've got 9, 2, 8. Okay, and that's the number I'm going to divide by 13. Right, let's go ahead. So how many 3's go into 5? Well, that's going to be 0. I'll just put a 0 up there first. I didn't use that 5, so I'm going to carry it over. So that's now 59. How many 13's go into 59? So I'm going to look at my times table. That's too high, so it's going to be this one here. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 4 times. That's 4. It made 52, so I've got 7 left over. Now how many 13's go into 72? So 72, these are too high. This one here, okay? That's 5. And that makes 65, so that will give me 7 left over again, okay, that I didn't use. So 13 into 78, and for this one here, it's going to be here. And that's going to be 6. I've got nothing to carry over, so I don't need to add a decimal point and a 0 to go forward, and that'll be my final answer. So 456. Okay. We're looking at now for 9, we're going to multiply decimals. Okay, multiply decimals by decimals. And the way that I look at this is, I look at how many decimal places I've got in my question. And the places would be from here, that'd be 1 place, 2 places to get to my decimal point. I've got 1 place there to get to my decimal point. So in my question, I've got 3 decimal places that I'm going to try and move my decimal once I get my answer. So I'm going to multiply 3 and 6 together. So 6 times 3, well, that's going to give me 18. I'm going to write my 18 there, because I know that what I'm going to be doing is moving my decimal point 3 places, because that's how many places were in the question. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. So my decimal point is going to end up here. And what I'll do in these small arches, that wee arch there, I'm going to put a 0 in there and a 0 there as well. So there's my final answer. So 0.018. So remember, when you do this type of work, don't line up the decimal points. Just make sure that you move the decimal point from your answer the number of places that are in the question. In this one, there was 3. Looking at the last question, I've got a division. I'm going to divide 12 by 0.04. Okay? So one way I try to think about this is having 12 all over, so it's still a divide sign, 0.04. I then think about equivalent fractions, and for equivalent fractions I'd like this to be a whole number on the bottom instead of a decimal. So what I could do with this one here is multiply it by 100. So if I multiply that by 100, I can multiply the top number by 100 as well, and I've just got the same fraction. Okay, it's an equivalent fraction. So multiplying that by 100 gives me 4. Multiplying 12 by 100 gives me 1,200. Then my division looks a lot simpler. Okay, I'm just going to divide this top number by 4. So I'll lay it out like this. And just go ahead and do it. So 4 into 1 goes 0. I'm going to carry that 1 over that I didn't use. 4 into 12 goes 3. Nothing left over. There we go. 300. That's going to be my final answer. Okay, so that's all the questions that we've got here. We've got 10 questions just for a quick homework. We're going to do a test or an assessment check-up, and we're going to do that very, very soon, and that's going to be based on the questions that we've done here in the homework. Okay, so rewind the video if you need to see certain bits, or go ahead and look at some of the other videos I've got with division, decimal multiplication, and long multiplication and long division. Okay, so good luck. Cheers for now.